Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Harold Campos and today I will be speaking about migrating from BizTalk Server to Azure Logic Apps. Let's start with why migrate. While migrating is a business decision, entirely a business decision, there are some factors that I like to bring up as reasons on why to migrate. If we start with from a cloud perspective, there are the inherent benefits of the cloud deployments. More regions, in the case of Azure, more regions than any other cloud provider. From a consumption perspective, you don't have to buy for peak, accrue the value as you grow, avoid hardware and infrastructure costs. So those are benefits that are cloud related. Now, if we think about patterns and approaches and benefits for the business, you can take advantage of a holistic cloud computing platform with Azure Logic Apps, and then innovate in the cloud with Azure Integration Services. If from a reusability perspective, Logic Apps allows extensive reusability of BizTalk Server artifacts, and also behind the scenes for many of the technologies that we have introduced to support the customers who are planning to migrate. It leverages BizTalk Server and host integration server capabilities internally, right? So that added to the fact that we have more than 1,000 out-of-the-box connectors and supports hybrid integration natively while leveraging cloud-native patterns. I think the benefits of migration are fairly clear, right? But again, so migrations, they are business decisions and they have to plan accordingly. BizTalk Server 2020 has a mainstream end date of April 11, 2028. So that means that we will continue supporting our BizTalk Server 2020 customers until then. And beyond 2028 until April 9, 2030, we will be providing what we call security hotfixes, just critical security hotfixes, just security fixes. This is what we call an extended support date, where we don't fix any functional defects in the software or any cases that are reported along those lines. So BizTalk Server follows a fixed lifecycle policy. I will be pasting the link on the description of the video, and this applies to the following editions: branch, developer, enterprise, and standard. Host integration server has similar dates. They are not exactly the same, but they are fairly similar. So and as you are aware, host integration server is sold as part of BizTalk Server or supplementary to BizTalk Server. So then if you need host integration server, you currently have to acquire BizTalk Server. And the reason why I bring this out is because this is the most updated roadmap that we have for BizTalk Server. So for customers who believe that will take longer than almost 4 years to conduct migrations, and it will be a great idea to take this guidance to conduct the migration to Azure Logic Apps. What is our goal? The goal in our team, in the Logic Apps team, is to make sure that Logic Apps make Azure Logic Apps the quickest and most cost-effective option for customers migrating from BizTalk Server. It's never been to convert Azure Logic Apps in BizTalk Server. It's meant to. It's the whole purpose of the initiative that we took. I think we started between 2 or 3 years ago of embracing the BizTalk Server customers in Logic Apps was to provide the capabilities that provide the capabilities in Logic Apps that will make of our product, of the Logic Apps product, the best target, the best destination for the BizTalk Server workloads. And let's see how is it that we are doing that. We have been working under the 3 major principles for migration. One, that BizTalk Server and Azure Logic Apps have different architectures. That's fairly clear, right? Our goal is to provide capabilities that address core customer integration needs with Logic Apps and modernization capabilities with Azure Integration Services like API management, Service Bus, Event Grid, and other products in the stack, in the Azure stack. Support for maps, schemas, custom assemblies, custom code, and rules engine in Logic Apps to minimize re-architecture effort, right? So we've carefully selected the features that we have in Logic Apps that customers were more worried about in terms of refactoring or redesigning, giving customers the ability to reuse a lot of those artifacts, and we'll show you how. And the third principle is that while limited re-architecting is required, it allows to take advantage of core Azure Integration Services platform capabilities. Pops up messaging using Azure Service Bus, workflow capabilities using Azure Logic Apps, workflows, direct mainframe and midranges integration with Logic Apps connectors, and for instance, SOAP capabilities in APIM. So I think overall, it's not only about how to move the workload from BizTalk Server to Logic Apps, but it's also about how to extend it around and make it and integrate with the other workloads that I have running in the cloud. So in BizTalk Server, everything runs in servers, in virtual machines, and it has a high dependency on the message box and databases and such, right? The paradigm in the cloud is different, right? With Logic Apps, you have the benefits of the extensibility of PaaS services, part of the platform in Azure Integration Services that will allow you to not just to grow, but manage elasticity and the other benefits that the cloud provides natively. So then, instead of encapsulating everything into Logic Apps, what we've done is we've carefully selected the core features that need to go into Logic Apps, and then re-architect the elements that are only needed to make the migration easier for you, right? So then, when what we're going to do now is we're going to propose an approach on migration, right? So there are multiple ways to conduct migration, but this is just one of them, the one that we have tested, and we feel that is the most, how can I say, the one that we will recommend for you to follow. A wave-based migration from BizTalk to Azure Logic Apps. We always recommend gradual approaches, right? Migration waves. Well, while there are 5 R's, you can rehost, redesign, retire, refactor. We do not recommend a big bang migration or complete lift and shift, because they are very risky, right? Unless you have small workloads or your BizTalk implementation is fairly small, then we do recommend you to follow this approach that is based in waves. This migration waves approach starts with a sprint 0, where we focus on BizTalk Server environments, discovery and planning, and then a number of waves and / sprints that will include activities such as creating the Logic Apps with custom code, schemas and maps, artifacts, include connectors, test interfaces, and then retrofit the portion of the BizTalk workloads that are running on premises to do the coexistence, right? Then updating the messaging system, enable process tracking, migrate accelerators and third parties as needed, conduct a cutover, and operationalize, right? So I think this has to be supported by a strong adoption and change management strategy, because there will be changes in how the systems will work, and you have to minimize them. So then you have to properly handle the change management and the adoption of the users. You have a strong project management and governance that is implicit in this type of large integration projects. Follow it by one end-to-end DevOps approach. So if we drill down a little bit into the Sprint 0, BizTalk Server environments, discovery, and wave planning, so then we get into to ask the typical questions. How many interfaces do you have? What features of BizTalk do you use? What BizTalk adapters are being used? Is there a mapping in the current stack of the industry accelerators? Where is your custom code? Determining the gap. And to determine the gap and if your SLIs and SLOs will be properly fit with the new platform. So then for that, you have a couple of migration tools that or discovery tools, right? One is the BizTalk Documenter that was put together by Mark Brimble a while ago, but it still works for BizTalk Server 2020. And the other one is the BizTalk Migrator. And the BizTalk Migrator has multiple stages, and one of the stage is the discovery stage, or the inventory stage, right? Which is the one that provides a lot of information about the artifacts that you have in a BizTalk Server environment. So then if you combine both, you will be able to understand what do you have running, and then start creating what we will call this gap analysis and plan, or waves plan moving forward, right? The other tool that we have available, which gets more into the implementation of the environment, is the Azure Integration Services Landing Zone Accelerator, that it keeps evolving, that includes best practices, architectural guidelines, pre-configured resources to deploy and manage integration services, and that has been available for some time. We have I will be adding all of these links into the video description for your peruse, and happy to hear feedback as well on how did it go. Now, getting into the migration waves, or the gradual BizTalk workloads migration, so then you get into how to define the waves, right? So how do you take this sequence of events in the delivery of an integration program like this, right? One, you start with a plan for waves. Yes, you have to plan for waves. You get the stakeholders, right? You define an MVP. What is the MVP? What are the workloads? How do you cut the monolith if you need to do it? Start with foundations, core dependencies, DevOps, security patterns, logging, the pillars of the, and also you can revisit the pillars of the well-architected framework. Plan for operations and monitoring. Then release the MVP to production. Of course, you have to do the migration, right? Host a retrospective, implement learnings, conduct the next wave, and repeat, right? So I think at the high level, this is what we see in the typical Scrum / Agile-based engagements, and that hasn't changed. I think the only consideration that you should have here is now the technology aspects, right? How do you manage the CI/CD? How do you manage the DevOps aspects of these type of integration projects, right? One way to do this is like this, right? So you define a number of waves, and then you start looking into those workloads that encompass most of the custom code, orchestrations, and schemas and maps, and then you take them into the first wave of sprints, right? So then as you continue releasing each one of the workloads, or the number of workloads that you have running in your BizTalk Server environment, so then you're going to continue adding more features. So now you're going to focus more on the adapters and the rules engine, for instance, messaging, the BAM, accelerators, and third parties, and then getting into the retargeting of external dependencies. Clearly, what we found with customers is that they all have different reasons, different types of implementations. Some of them are purely based in custom code, right? Some of them use BizTalk because back in the day, they took the guidance, we need a middleware, we need an integrator. So then, but they had a lot of code. So then we gave them the tools to include custom classes and also expressions and everything. So then they used a lot the custom code. So then for that we have a feature, but we'll talk more about that very soon. So that's the reason why it depends on your implementation. Some implementations, they are fairly well isolated, right? You have clear workloads or BizTalk applications that can be just taken one by one, right? That's another approach to do it. So that's why what you are seeing here is just one way to do it when you have to split a large monolith, as opposed to having multiple little BizTalk Server applications in your environment. Now, there are some benefits of using a gradual approach that are not necessarily being highly advertised, so to speak, right? Is one, consider that a hybrid architecture is a transition state. Most successful migrations are gradual, right? So you start with the benefits of starting small, right, and going shipping fast, right? Don't do big bang unless you have a very small footprint in the BizTalk Server environment. If you're using BizTalk, seldom you will have a small environment, right? Because BizTalk is an enterprise class, enterprise grade middleware, right? For mission critical systems. Service bus can bridge on premises to the cloud integrations in a durable, reliable manner. So and so can IBM MQ do it for bridging legacy platforms. So then, it's interesting because those customers who are more cloud native, they are natively using Service Bus for messaging, which is fantastic, right? Because we have plenty of control on it, because we design it, because it's completely it's the best messaging system in the cloud and out there, right? Now, a lot of our legacy customers who have been running for many years at mission critical workloads that use mainframes, that use midranges, that use key mission critical line of business systems, they use IBM MQ, and we are seeing an increase, an important increase in the usage of our IBM MQ integration technologies to bridge legacy platforms. So I think those are some of the benefits of following a gradual approach, along with focusing on reducing the coupling, right? I think gradual approaches allow you to split the monolith, as I said, right, and reduce the coupling. This also helps reducing migration risks. So what are we doing, or what have we been doing in Azure Logic Apps standard for BizTalk migration? When sometimes when I visit some customers, they say, well, what is? Tell me more about what does Logic Apps have for what is Logic Apps having or has for BizTalk migration, right? So I think since we started with embracing the BizTalk customers in Logic Apps, we did a lot of work, and we are still working on a number of features that are targeting these customers. For instance, the business rules engine, it's just in public preview. What we've done is we've incorporated the runtime and the ability for customers to leverage their existing rules and custom code using rules in Logic Apps. We are incorporating native XML support that is currently in private preview. So that means that you will have natively the ability to compose and parse XML right now in action, but in the future it may be embedded in Designer. So that's something that we are still working on. Architectural guidance has been provided. BizTalk Map support has been provided. .NET Framework custom code as well is generally available. The data mapper is generally available. Swift capabilities are currently in public preview. Business process tracking is in public preview. The hybrid deployment model, it's in early access preview. The MLLP HL7 are in analysis and further analysis, and if the analysis is successful, so then we'll get into the development phase. Something very, very cool here is the patterns library with templates. Templates are a new feature that I will be briefly talking about very soon. It's in development. WCF SOAP support in analysis. We leverage for SOAP the API management capabilities, and JMS support is currently in analysis as well. So with all of this, we wanted to create a sort of a high-level mapping on what we have between the core BizTalk features and what Logic Apps and Azure Integration Services provides. And you will see that all of these blue boxes that you see here that are called Logic Apps, right? They are mostly dominating the whole spectrum here of the functionalities that are provided in BizTalk Server environments. So you see that for orchestrations, you have the workflows. For enterprise application integration, you have the connectors and the actions. For API, XML SOAP, you have XML native and the help of API management for SOAP, endpoints. Durable messaging, you have Logic Apps stateful, we have stateless and stateful for this case. Helper functions, we have the Logic Apps custom code and extensibility, and with the support of the Azure functions. For configurations, you have all of the cloud elements, and also you have Logic Apps parameters and workflow, and you have the Logic Apps rules engine. For business rules, the Logic Apps rules engine. For the B2B integration, the Logic Apps integration accounts, and so it is for data transformation. Where along with the integration accounts, we also have the data mapper capabilities in VS Code. We have for async messaging, we are supported by Service Bus. For mainframes and midranges, we have native connectors, built-in connectors for integrating with CICS, IMS, MQ, DB2, and others. Security and governance, Key Vault, load balancer, and well-architected framework principles in use for disaster recovery. Hybrid, we have the new deployment model, the Logic Apps Hybrid. Business users, we have the business process tracking in Logic Apps. And for management and monitoring, we have the Azure integration environments. So as you can see, the goal that we had for making Logic Apps the best destination for BizTalk workloads, it's something that we are accomplishing by focusing on these specific technologies that as extensibility points for the architecture, right? We were just speaking about the data mapper, right? The core features of the data mapper: visual mapping, built-in mapping functions, map checker, supports XML and JSON formats, and provides manual mapping tests, right? So if you go back in the day, we all love the BizTalk editor and the mapper. Right now, by getting into a more modern data mapper with new features in the preview that is going to be available in the next few weeks, you have test API available, movable functions, custom functions. No, I didn't say functoids. I said custom functions. Filtering, sorting, distinct, custom XPath, inline XSLT. So a number of features that are making this a super mapper, so to speak, right? Super data mapper. So I'm very pumped with the features that the team has been working on in this space. I think it's been a while since we've had this feature, the ability to have workflows that can leverage XSLT or maps that are dependent on the dev framework assemblies for map execution, right? This is particularly important when it comes to BizTalk maps that use the scripting, functoid, and reference assemblies. So that has been available for some time already. So if you are concerned about this, we have a feature that covers it. You can expose extension object parameters on the transform XML action. Copy and paste extension object metadata, and then you are done. Now this was definitely one of the precursors of the custom code feature that we provided in Logic Apps. If you have custom code in BizTalk, then extensibility custom code feature in Logic Apps is what we provided, right? The background: in October last year, we generally available the custom code extensibility for .NET Framework. This helped a lot of our BizTalk customers who have extensive amounts of custom code in .NET Framework. Appeals to software engineers looking for more control as well, right? This goes to our Codeful experience in VS Code. It has a strong adoption, but non-BizTalk customers looking for access to newer versions of .NET, we introduced a Logic Apps workspace project type, which allows for new languages to be plugged in to the experience. And right now we are investing, it's in public preview actually, the .NET 8 support, right? So in this short video, you will see that you have the ability to create workspaces with support of .NET 8. I think this video was recorded when we had .NET 6, so I think it's gonna appear .NET 6 here, but it's today is .NET 8, right? So with that, you have the ability to run solutions with custom code. Yes, it has to be .NET 6, .NET 8 here, right? But the idea is the same, right? I mean, this is in the end what's going to be created with using VS Code. It looks exactly the same, right? So I think what I'm going to skip this part in the interest of time, real quick, but. So then you have, it's going to create a function, I call a local function in this Logic App. You will recompile everything. And then once you have that built, then you will be able to use your code, a function running .NET 8. So I think this is just one of the features that we have available in that space, right? So then if we get into the admin console, some customers express concern about, okay, so I had a strong admin console with BizTalk. What do I have today? You're probably familiar with the integration environments that we released in public preview that provides end-to-end Azure Integration Services monitoring application to group AIS resources as a unit. In a single pane, you can view the health of your integration resources in an application. You can see that you have here Logic Apps, Service Bus, and APIM, right? So, and not only that, it can analyze your application workloads, troubleshoot failures, identify anomalies without the context switching, right? So you can see all of it for these different products of Azure Integration Services, and it's being built on Azure App Insights for telemetry data and Azure Monitor workbooks for visualizations. This link for feedback will be provided in the video description as well. Now, if you miss the BizTalk resubmit capability or the ability to resubmit messages for reprocessing, then we have the resubmit from actions as well. That is fairly similar. If you have a workflow, then you can pick one particular. There may be some situations where you don't want to resubmit all actions of the workflow, especially if you are reprocessing. Your reprocessing can lead into duplicates, right? So then in that particular case, you can just pick an action and then submit from this action. This gives you more control over how transactions will be reprocessed. This feature is currently in public preview for stateful workflows and available in Logic Apps standard. What about BAM? For BAM, we provide the business process tracking that it has been very well received by our customers. Business process tracking now is a top-level Azure resource. It provides RBAC, logs, tags, business process stage status as well, successful or failed, green or red, as you can see on the graphic here, right, and gray when it's processing. It has token pick and support, transaction ID expressions, variable support, emit Boolean values at runtime, and link to business process to integration environment application. So I think you will enjoy what we are providing for if you were a BAM user, you're gonna like what you see when you test the business process tracking. Local processing. So I think one of the most important arguments for customers that were reluctant to migrate from BizTalk Server to Logic Apps was, I am a utilities company, or I am a company that cannot, I don't need a middleware running in the cloud, right? So then for those companies who are have the limitation or the constraint of running locally, this architecture of the hybrid deployment model provides a way to conduct local processing, local storage, and local network access. So then if you need to call a mainframe on premises, it's not going to leave your on-premises environment, right? The call will happen locally. Now, we call it semi-connected because the control plane is still hosted in the cloud and it accesses the data plane through Azure Arc. So in other words, you can manage your Microsoft managed and customer managed Logic Apps from a single experience, which is the Azure portal. So then for the portal to show what you have on premises, you have to be connected to the portal. So that means that the control plane has to be aware of what's going on premises. So this is not for 100% isolated scenario, like you take your CD and then install it and then goodbye. No, this is a semi-connected experience, right? And Logic Apps are deployed into containers within a connected environment. The public preview for this feature is September 2024. Along the lines of the custom code extensibility, we have provided C# and PowerShell scripting for what we call customers looking for extensibility with lighter dependencies and a smaller footprint, right? So you don't have to write a huge program, but yet you need to execute a few lines of code or some PowerShell scripts. Then you do. Customers that start or prefer development in the portal, they can incorporate just snippets, code snippets to these script code actions. So then the extended inline code support inline scripting directly from the portal for Logic Apps. C# is available now, and PowerShell will be available in September 2024. It's available as an in-app action. or built-in. Dynamic content support and import assembly modules for reusability. Okay, I'm sure that that this is something that will be very well received, along with the rules engine as well. So this is one feature that I've drove with the team of engineering, and yes, we received a lot of feedback about these features, the inclusion of the BizTalk rules engine. Well, first of all, the whole idea of this feature is to enable customers who are running BizTalk workloads to migrate to Logic Apps, right? I think a lot of these customers who are using BRE will love this feature because it allows them to reuse their existing rules in Logic Apps, right? So we have maintained the runtime, we have included the Red runtime, upgraded it, so to speak, right, to run in Logic Apps. This means that all the existing runtime features for BizTalk customers will be available in the runtime, right? It's available in Logic Apps standard only. It reads from XML rule sets stored in artifacts folder. It leverages the custom code.NET framework feature, and is calling from a built-in code action. It uses a standalone rules composer, which is largely based on the BizTalk rules composer, right? So I think that is the experience that probably generated a lot of feedback as to why is it that you are not providing a more modern look and feel for it, right? So originally this feature is for BizTalk customers who are migrating, right? The concept of facts, the concept of conditions and actions in a rule, the vocabularies, right? That's something that is very entrenched to BizTalk customers. But we are looking for feedback. You know, if you want to see this feature growing, so then we will be providing this link as well in the video description. So let's start the video. So in this short video, it's showing the composer, and the composer is reading from a rule set. This rule set has a number of rules, and which are fairly well. These are basically exported from a BizTalk environment, right? And then you see that we have today two facts supported. We have the XML facts and the .NET facts. So then you can go to the source facts and then add your business logic, right, to make comparisons and then execute actions. So this is, you know, when I get asked by some customers that were not familiar with the rules engine in the past, to describe, you know, the approach for this rules engine is very data centric, right? Very fact centric. So currently we have just we are not supporting DB facts, the BizTalk DB facts. If you have DB facts, you have to take them out from the export, or we can help you if you are looking to migrate a large implementation. Just connect with me, right? We are providing a now a new type of project in VS Code that is the rules engine, or Logic Apps project with rules engine, and you will see it in a second. So we type the workspace name, or we select the workspace name, and then the next thing that it asks for the project, Logic App Rules Engine project, with rules engine project, right? And then it will create a function for you. So this function that it gets created will allow you to incorporate code with your facts and read the whole business logic that you have for your particular workflow, right? So let me skip a few parts here, right? So it's gonna create a code. It comes with a template, with a fact, right? With a rules file. So then once you have this available, then you can see the code to execute the rule, right? And then you can deploy your workflow, you can deploy it to the cloud, and then you can test by changing values, you know, in the payload of in this case, the HTTP request is received, and then you will see the changes and the rules being applied. So for customers who are using the BRE, this is a very exciting feature, right? I think it's gonna help them a lot in their migration efforts. We also incorporated Swift support, and I think this has been available for some time already in preview, right? We have a Logic App Swift connector that offers a built-in connector, runs in your compute, secure VNet support, message support for all categories of MT. as a flat file and XML. Decode and encode operations, out-of-the-box schemas for message validation based on the Swift standard release guidelines, and it does support big validation. We will be providing a feedback link here as well for you to provide any feedback if you are using this feature. For instance, we have the process MT101 request for transfer using the Swift connector. So this is the payload, the message to the code, and this is the message to encode, right? So you have the decode and encode. We have improved our B2B and EDI support as well. We have AS2, X12 edifacts are now generally available. Send or receive EDI messages a single or in batch, runs on your compute and VNet optionally, built-in, more throughput and larger payloads, and also improvements to the integration account premium, availability zone enabled, no limits in the artifacts, and VNet support coming very soon. This is a topic that is very close to my heart, mainframes and mid-ranges integration, as you are aware if you're following my channel or subscribe to the channel, right? So I am the PM also for the host integration server product, and we have proudly incorporated a lot of the host integration server as built-in connectors in Azure Logic Apps. We have connectivity that allows you to integrate with 3270 systems, like green screens. You can consolidate the metadata of these 3270 systems and then call it from Logic Apps. You can invoke CI/CD systems via TCP/IP or HTTP. You don't have to buy any expensive software in the host to do this integration, because this is coming with Logic Apps standard as a part of your compute. So in other words, you don't pay for it as long as you're using Logic Apps standard. Same for IBM IMS, right? So we can integrate with IMS systems. We can do offline parsing of host files, vSAN files. We can integrate with DB2 systems, with IBM MQ, with IBM I systems. We can call RPG programs, COBOL programs running on IBM I, or iSeries, or S400, even S400 if you still have them. But for that, we also provide a couple of tools. The HIS Designer for Logic Apps. We took the designer from HIS, the TI Designer. We made it a standalone tool, and it's available in the Download Center. We also have the 3270 design tool, which is a tool that allows you to connect to the host, record all of your screens, the input, and then it creates a file. You upload the file, and then voila. Instead of going to the mainframe and execute the green screens and everything, what it does all of the commands for you behind the scenes, and it returns the result that is expected towards the end of the execution. This is one feature that it's very exciting. I think we are coming to the end of this presentation. The templates for Logic Apps standard. So we are incorporating a way for customers who are looking for accelerators to reduce the time to market and encourage reusability. This means that you will have predefined workflows for integration scenarios across industry domains. For instance, data transformation support via maps. You will be able to standardize development with best practices and patterns. You will have exception handling, design patterns like sequential convoy, AI patterns like RAG ingestion for AI, right? There is a link for feedback, and we'll be pasting it in the chat as well. Roadmap, customer generated templates scope to their subscription, multi-workflow templates, prepackaged integration accelerators and such. And then, I don't want to deviate from the original topic, which is BizTalk migration, but this is the reason why I brought this feature here, because we have many other features on the AI space that I didn't include. It's because we are introducing BizTalk migration templates as well. So for customers who are looking for specific patterns, for instance, the aggregate, right, or the scatter gather, right? We are in process of working in templates, like, this is how it looks in BizTalk, this is how it should look in Logic Apps. So then we make the lives of our customers who are migrating easier. We understand that this is not a migrator of the orchestrations. We will not be providing a migrator for orchestrations, right? So because orchestrations, they can be as simple as having 2 or 3 shapes or having 300 shapes. So I think if you ask me where the most of the work will reside for you in the migration, we'll probably look and understand what your orchestration to workflow it's going to look like. because for the rest of the aspects, we have been providing a lot of features in that run as extensibility. There is this link with great migration resources. There is a call out of the BizTalk Server as the expert series led by Ken Ware, with some great MVPs and friends that they sat down to discuss migration aspects. So please look at this, right? This is part of the link that I just added. And then the host integration server series, or mainframe and midranges integration series, which I led, I'm adding a lot of information on how to move if you are worried about your mainframe or workloads, how to integrate from BizTalk, or how is it that you want to be integrating with Logic Apps. Then I invite you to subscribe to my channel at HCampusU, and to look into all of this information that I have put together for you to integrate with this very or super legacy system. If there is something missing, let us know. Add a comment in the chat, in the video, reach out. And there are additional resources. I will be pasting all of these links, as I said. One last thing is that how can I stay up to date for Logic Apps? We have the Azure Integration Services blog. We have the Logic Apps Aviator newsletter. We have the community stand-up. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Thanks a lot for listening. Thank you for migrating as well, so then you have a chance also to use our features. And if you need to reach out, this is my contact information. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.